All right, guys, so today we're putting the E36 in a lift. We're going to see what's all wrong with it. We're going to do a few things, do a rust inspection. We're going to do inspection for, we think it has coilovers on it. It has adjustable top plate, usually means coilovers. We're also going to put a scope in. Some of the issue with this car was supposedly the timing chain guide is broken. So we're going to scope it. We're going to take a look at that. We're also going to take a look underneath for oil leaks, anything like that. And that's pretty much it. So let's go check it out right now. Okay, so we got her up in there here. We already see a few things going on. I don't see anything very bad though, and that's good. The first thing we see is right here on the trunk, the little drain, a little bit rusty, a little crispy. Got a little bit of seepage out of the rear diff, a very normal amount. It looks like probably the fill plug, the aluminum washer on the fill plug either isn't there or it's been reused and it's dripping, it's seeping. The next thing is we got a different shock on this side than on this side over here. All right. So as far as rust goes, I don't really see a whole lot. On camera it'll look horrible, but it's not really that bad. A little flaky on the carrier. The bolts are a little rusty. Nothing is overly aggressive on the rust. All the calipers look pretty good. As we go down here, the exhaust is not that rusty. Looks pretty good. There's no rust anywhere in the floors. Catalytic converters are not broken up. Got the foil covers a little bit ripped out. And that kind of stuff. There's no corrosion on any of the brake lines or fuel lines really at all, which is also good. And as we're going up here to the front, the same way on the transmission. It looks like it needs some thread sealer on the drain. It's just seepy around there. Nothing's actually dripping. A little bit of oil seepage, looks like some from past leaks because it's not wet right now. A little bit of rust over there on the floor, the bottom of the fender, and over here too. This has the metal fenders hanging down right there, but a little tiny rust spot there. And then up here we notice the rear tires are Pirellis. Philip, turn around and show them real quick. I forgot to do that. Are Pirellis. They're performance tires, so they're real fine tread. I don't like those because those are dangerous. If you get any kind of rain or anything, that real fine tread cannot shed water at all, and you end up crashing and dying. So on the fronts we have snow tires. This one's wore every other treads up and down. You can see the ultra fine metric tread with little sips all in it, and that's the grip ice. On this other side over here, the same tire. This one's worn, so we'll have to ask Joe if these were originally on the car, which could result in an alignment problem, or if those are something you put on, somebody's put on off of something else. I really don't know. By the wear pattern on this, looks like it was probably on the back of something at some point, but you never know. Front control arms, the bushings all look good. I'm gonna grab a pry bar real quick, and we're gonna check these ball joints and stuff. So as of right now, so far, to recap, we probably need some tires that all match and they're all what are going to be good for what we're doing with this car. And some rear shocks, possibly some front struts just because it looks like they're just totally factory. So I can get this damn thing in here to even see. That's all good. That's all good. That's all good. That's all good. Sway bar links. Nope, it needs new sway bar links. I don't know if you can see that or not. Just stuck it between right there and right there. See the play on it? Sway bar links don't last long on anything. And I'll check this one too. That one's actually not bad. This side's good. So Are we going to replace one sway bar link? No, we're going to do both of them and do that. So as far as brake calipers, looks like nothing's sticking. If these cars set very long, it doesn't matter if they're down south or up north, the brake calipers will stick on them and drag. Underneath the car, I would say the rust is very normal amount, probably actually below normal amount of rust, especially where we got it from. And engine-wise, very, very small amount of seeping. This sway bar does have paint flaking off of it, which usually means it needs to be replaced. And these sway bar mount bushings are kind of ratty, but definitely not going to affect too much the way the car drives. As far as all that goes, it looks like somebody's done a new belt tensioner at some point. And thought I had a brand on it, but I don't see a brand on it. The belts, they look okay. They're showing some wear, but not horrible. And I guess at this point in time, I don't see any coolant problems at all. Look at the bottom of the radiator, there's no white residue anywhere. Let's let it down off the lift, and let's take a look under the hood and see what's all going on. Okay, so we're down on the ground here. I'll show you everything that's wrong with the body. The very first thing I want to show you, and every E36 has this, is these little gaskets that go around the door handles. They get dry and cracked. The last E36 I had years ago, I bought a whole set of them and just took the time and went around and replaced the gaskets. And that does bring a lot to the car. Also, the rear window gasket is notorious on these E36s for going bad. This one, somebody's glued a little bit. It needs a new one to look perfect. But, you know, just the way it is. This is the worst rust spot in the whole car. And these are notorious for rusting right here. And we'll get Buddy not to show that so close because, you know, it's going to look a lot worse on camera than it is in real life. We have another little tiny spot here. We have a tiny spot on the trunk right there. So what we're going to have to do is get a hold of our body shop guy. It has a little bitty like dent with like some white paint here. We might be able to, I don't know if it is there or not. I might just be able to buff that off. And that's really about it. We have a flake. We've seen this in the last video. A flake of paint off here, but it's not rusty. So it's going to go to the body shop. We're going to have Chad do his magic on this thing. I think it's worth a few $100, whatever he charges to fix it correctly. $500 if that's what it costs to have it perfect. Because the rest of the car is in really, really, really good shape. As you can see, I don't know if you've seen it or not in the last video too much, was the inside. Now, we didn't touch the inside. There's one thing. This door panel needs to have the stuff glued back on it. But the seats, front and rear and everything, are actually really good. We'll get Phil to come over here and shoot you in the front here. And like I said, let me grab the light. Like I said, I didn't vacuum none of this out. This is just the way Joe gave it to us. So it has the right floor mats, the kind we like, the rubberized factory BMW stuff. The seat has very, very, very little wear on it. And they are the black Vader seats. So those are worth a pretty extreme amount of money. And it's good that these are actually good shape. Now, these old seats, if a person was to get in here and kneel in the seat one time, it would bust the whole seam out. And you guys heard me preach over and over and over. Never, ever, ever, ever kneel in a seat. If you got little kids, tell them to get their ass off your seat. It don't matter if it's new leather or old leather. What'll happen is it'll bust the stitching out of the seam. If it's old leather, the stitching is very broken down from the sun, and it'll actually rip it out easier. So you gotta be a little aware of that. As far as under the hood goes, just kind of looking in here a little bit. The Vanos unit looks very clean. I don't know if anybody's done the seals on this thing or not. This has the old school clamps on it. Everything's hose clamp. The thermostat, it's really hard to tell. Everything looks pretty good. There's no play in the fan. The fan clutch is all good. Everything's right in here. It's got all the right stuff on it. He said he did replace the throttle body boot. We need to take a look at the PCV. Actually, on this one, we can just see it right here. That hose looks very new and it's very soft. The PCV itself, I don't think that's been done. It looks older and more dirty. As far as the cam sensors, the cam sensor looks like it probably has never been touched on this. I mean, there's no engine light on for it. You know, so overall pretty simple. Now, we do know on M52, the crankshaft sensor, once you get about 150K, if you have not replaced your crankshaft sensor, you'll start getting a blister on it. And he said the car every once in a while would cut out and you turn it off and back on. So that either could be a coil pack getting bad, which we'll probably already check those, or it could be that crank sensor getting bad, getting a blister on it. So when the car heats up, it'll push out and it'll change the timing and screw the timing up. And so yeah, let me grab their little Makita light. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so let's just pop this engine cover off real quick. Set that over there. So this has the old style coils in it. These are the square ones. So they're all factory. To my knowledge, none one's been replaced. I mean, they look factory. So that could be an issue too. I mean, they're over their age. We won't really know. I don't see any oil leaks though. There's a little microscopic amount of seepage up here. But overall, it looks good. I don't know if anybody's ever done the valve cover gasket on it, but usually by this point in time, these covers are cracked and it needs a new one. The nice thing about it, this is the same as the M52. If I remember right, maybe it is a little different. I don't remember on this upper cover that takes a little different deal or not, but I think it's all the same. And we're looking at secondary air hose here. We'll take a look at that. That looks good, but also looks original. Somebody's replaced a little vacuum line, and a lot of times on these, it's a good idea to go around the back of this intake manifold and just kind of feel. This one you can almost see it. E36 is a little, I can't feel anything, but feel around, make sure all the vacuum lines are intact and that kind of thing. While we're here, see if I can see a little more of this PCV. And how these parts are stamped, there's like a little circle and number in it. That number is the date. But I would say that PCV has probably never been changed. At 170K, that's kind of normal. So let's put this back together real quick. Let's take the timing chain tensioner out. Let's get our scope and let's look at that guide. So we got the inspection cam is in the timing chain tensioner hole. But it's so hard to get. I can see a lot of it there. You can see it. That's the hole where the tensioner goes into or rides against. I don't think it's broke. It's a metal backed guide. And I can see all the way up almost to the tippy top of it. And I don't see anything wrong up there at all. So that's what happens when you don't put a glove on before you do this. There's a timing chain tensioner. That's a 32 mil to get that out, by the way. And that's just right here in the front. You probably can't see it. Bring them over to Philip, but it's right down under the valve cover. We'll continue to mess with this a little bit longer, but I don't hear that. Like, I don't hear that when it's running, that's broken. But more than likely at this point, the only way we're ever going to be able to tell is take the valve cover off and look down in there. And I'm really leery about doing that because a lot of times this cover is not cracked. A lot of times when you go take these off, when they have been off in a long time, it'll be stuck on there. And if you try to pry it up at all to do anything to get it off, that's when it cracks it. So we'll see. We'll be back here in a second. Okay, so here we finally got down in there. You can see the chain right here. This is the guide over here. We're just gonna go up the guide. I can't quite get to the very top. So far, nothing's broken. You can see the chain there in the middle. This is the front case. I can't quite get it all the way to the very tip, but that's 90% of it. See, it's hard. Once you get it out of there, then you lose it. I think it's totally fine. I have not heard the noise. Now, it's very possible. Let me turn this thing off. It's very possible what he heard, if he's hearing a growling noise, is one of the two things: water pump or a pulley. It's very, very possible. The one I seen that was broken before was on a 528i, and that guide had no metal backer on it. It was just all the brown plastic, and the very top piece of it broke off. Now, the car didn't have any issues, or, let me take that back, or what he's hearing could be Vanos rattle too. If those Vanos seals are totally gone, that's gonna go like this, the piston will, and flutter. And so there is that. Nothing's gonna be able to tell what's going on with that until we just put some more miles on it and see what's going on. As of right now, we just have a few minor things to be replaced. Okay, so the steering wheel, you can see on top there, it's got a wear spot, and that is M3 wheel. Has the multicolor stitching on it. You can see on the inside there. And then the headliner, we'll get Buddy to show you on the headliner there, maybe. Can you get up there and show them? It's got some thumbtacks and stuff in it. So essentially, you see it? It's black, so it's hard to see. Anyhow, it needs to be redone, no doubt. So what we have here is essentially a list of stuff that it probably needs. Now, this list includes tires, $350 for tires. I think I wouldn't have to replace those tires. I don't like those rear tires. They are good tread, but they're older. The fronts are snow tires, so we don't need none of that here. So to put those Falcon tires to put on everything else here that we know are really good all around is $350. Rear shocks for OEMs, 146 or two shocks. Crank sensor, $70. We'll probably do that no matter what, because I don't feel like rolling the dice. Coil packs, we don't know yet. We haven't got that far with it. Those are usually around 150 to $200 for OEM. Steering wheel. So the steering wheel, I found some guys doing the 3-spoke as a way smaller center airbag, direct bolt-in Alcantara wheel. They're about $280 for one of those. I think that'll be worth it for the car to do that. That'll make the driving experience a lot nicer. The paint, we haven't talked to Chad yet. I would say I'm going to shoot high on it to fix those little spots. We just want to make the car pretty much perfect. He's going to have to fix that spot, weld the piece in, or whatever he has to do. He's going to have to spray a little bit of black on that spot. He's going to have to clear coat probably the whole fender or the whole panel to make that match. I figure $500 on the high side. The headliner, I think to take that out, I don't know on the headliner, to have that done in Alcantara and with A, B, and C pillars, I'd figure probably $300. That's just a wild stab in the dark at it. We did not figure in little tiny things like the door handle gaskets and stuff like that. It has all the correct trim. The bumper's all good. Everything's good with that. But that grand total comes to $1,600. I think $1,600 is going to be a good number. That's going a little above and beyond with a few things and probably leaving a few out. So I think the average is going to be about that. Fixing cars is not cheap. We've proven that 1,000 times over. But I don't see anything crazy going on. Now, the throwout bearing, we'll have to inspect that a little more. If that's the case, the engine doesn't really need anything. There's no reason to take the engine out. We'll probably just drop the transmission. He put a whole new clutch with a single mass flywheel, and now that new throwout bearing's having problems. So we'll probably just get a legit expensive throwout bearing, probably $60, and throw in it if it comes down to that. If we're in it and we have a Guibo problem or any kind of dry shaft issue, there could be a few hundred extra dollars to sort any of that. overall, I was just telling Philip, this is the below average maintenance needed. This car is far well above and beyond what most BMWs need when they come into here. As you can see in some of the past cars, they needed 2 of everything. And then time will tell on the CCV and things like that. The battery is good. That's rare. It doesn't seem to have any check engine lights or any issues at all, but time will tell on that also. But that's it. We're gonna probably go get it inspected tomorrow and throw some license on it, some insurance, and so we could actually drive it. We'll probably keep this for a little while. I think the next car to be sold is going to be the X5. We have parts coming in out for that today. And after that, it's probably going to be the M5, to be totally honest. But we'll see. You never know around this place. It's going to be it, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all later.